My name is Adrian Nantchev, and this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So what I do is, for these podcasts, I give you someone else in the world that's doing something remarkable with their life, whether they are an entrepreneur or not. Today I'm joined with Melanie. So please, Melanie, please tell the world, please tell the audience, who are you? What are you doing? What do you believe in? What's your story? And what difference are you making in the world?
Hi. Well, thank you for having me on. Basically what I do is I work with other entrepreneurs, supporting them in really any way I can. But what I do more than anything else is I write business plans for budding entrepreneurs. So that's my kind of day-to-day business. I've also done mentoring with young people in schools in the UK. Really just to introduce them to the idea that they have an option of not going into a traditional 9-to-5 job and becoming an employee, but they've got the option of creating their own business. And that's really what I do.
All right. Yeah, I find that in the UK, there isn't always much of a spirit of entrepreneurship, what's happening, in the world, not much drive towards that. How did you get involved in the mentoring and as well as the business writing?
What happened was I worked for a UK university for over 20 years. So I was basically a finance manager, and I started working with some academics who were spinning out business ideas from their academic research. So that's how I started supporting people into running their own businesses. So while they were really smart people, and they had great research and stuff, they really didn't have much idea about how to start a business or run a business or write a business plan or any of that side of it. So I kind of wangled my way, if you like, into working with the startups in my day job to start with. And then after a couple of years of that, I had an opportunity to take voluntary redundancy, which I did because I was a bit institutionalized. I'd been in the same university for 20 years, first as a student and then as a finance manager. So when I got the chance to take voluntary redundancy, I just set up my own little boutique, if you like, accountancy and business support service. And really just started working freelance with budding entrepreneurs, helping them, because a lot of people they've got great skills, but they may not have, they've got great technical skills, or they've got great IT skills, or they've got, even plumbing or plastering skills, but they're not sure how to set up a business. Yeah, so I started doing that, and then I saw in Wales, there's a Business Wales, part of the Welsh government, which set up a mentoring scheme. So I just kind of signed on to that and volunteered to do that. And at the time they had a project called Dynamo, which is now I think called Big Ideas Wales. And it's going into schools at different levels. So I went in, I mostly worked with year 9 students, and we just did like 40 minutes with the kids, just saying, do you know anybody who has a business? Have you thought about having a business? Pretty much you could identify with almost every school kid something that they were interested in that could turn into a business, whether it was photography or whether they were into beauty or whether they were into writing or whatever their kind of passion was. And you could say, well, let's look at ways that you could develop your own business using this passion that you have. So that was really good fun working with high school kids.
Is that a common thing, you think, in the UK, where people they don't realise or they don't connect the dots about starting their own business? Is that common?
Yeah, I think the best part about it was just like you could see the light bulb going on with a lot of kids, and they were like, yeah, this is actually something I could do. I don't actually have to go in to a kind of sausage factory job or a call center or whatever it might be. This is a real alternative, and real people do this. So we kind of, the first part of each lesson that we did with kids, we shared our own story. And then kind of the second half, we did sort of fun games with the kids, just showing them what's possible. And I used to do a lot of storytelling about, Marks and Spencer's, where Mr. Marks actually arrived in the UK, couldn't read or write, was a door-to-door peddler, and then worked his way up to being a market trader, and then worked his way up to opening his first store. And through kind of storytelling about, real people who started real businesses, which are now multinationals, they were kind of oh my gosh, this guy who couldn't even read or write or didn't really speak hardly any English started Marks and Spencer's, and just inspiring them in that way.
I never knew that's how Marks and Spencer started off.
Yeah, absolutely. There's loads of stories of big businesses that are multinational now that started off as either market stalls or just really small scale. I mean, everybody pretty much knows the Virgin story, that was like a one store. But there's loads of stories about how people started out. I mean, Tesco started out technically as a market stall.
Oh yeah, 1919, I believe it was, in East End or West End London. Oh, I forgot the guy's name.
Tea.
Tom.
Yeah, I've forgotten the guy's name as well. But yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. So when you support these businesses, these budding entrepreneurs, what kind of things do you teach them? What kind of support do you give exactly?
Well, now I've kind of, initially I started doing, bookkeeping with small businesses and offering bookkeeping services and accounting services because that's what my training was. But to be honest, that's morphed kind of into almost 100% business planning now, because people want loans to start their business or they want to get investors interested in supporting them. I mean, I've done one with a really interesting guy who was, he was from England somewhere, but he'd been living in Australia. And then he'd come back to Britain and he had this fantastic idea. I can't obviously go into details because of confidentiality, but it was in the travel industry. And it was a really amazing idea, but he just needed help putting it on paper. And by the time we'd written the business plan, he sold the business with just off the business plan. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he sold without actually operating the business. He sold it for 7 figures to an American company. I work with really interesting people. Some are serial entrepreneurs, like the chap I was just talking to you about, who sold his business without even really setting up a website. I mean, just lots and lots of businesses. I worked with another one who was looking at crowdfunding in the property business, and they overfunded on Crowdcube on day one. So it's amazing the things that happen once people have really creative ideas. To be honest, I'm not really an idea engine like some entrepreneurs. I'm like a really good back office, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I fit in, but it gives me the opportunity to work with some just amazing people. I mean, I had a lady last month and she had started, and it was another travel related business. And she'd been kind of running it for a few months. It was nice because it was her and her son running it together. And, she contacted me on a Saturday morning at 8:00 and said she just found out she had the chance to put her business before a potential investor on the Monday morning, and she had neither a business plan nor a pitch deck. So she was like, Mel, could you do me a business plan and a pitch deck by Monday morning? And I was like, okay. But we did it, and it was fantastic. So it's just really great working with these people who are full of creative ideas and full of business skills, but putting the stuff on paper I think it's boring for a lot of them. They have better things to do. So that's kind of where I fit in.
All right. So speaking of business plans, tell me about a good way to write one. What's the good structure? I personally don't find them overly boring. I find them a good way of centralising all the ideas and the concepts and solidifying exactly what the heck I'm going to do.
Exactly, and I think that's what the value is. And I think I do the numbers first. The reason being is that sometimes when you're working with an entrepreneur and they think they've got the most amazing idea in the world, and it might have merit to its own, it's just never going to be profitable. So I do the numbers first to make sure that it is viable business, because there's no point getting into all the research and the writing if it's never going to work in a million years. So I start with the numbers, make sure that they're sensible, make sure it's actually a viable, profitable idea, and then do the writing after, and the market research after. And sometimes the whole business changes shape when you do that. So you do what you think, you write the numbers for what you think you're going to do, and then obviously you do the market research, and it's like, well, no, the niche we thought isn't the niche that's going to work, but this other niche will work much better, so you have to be kind of flexible in your thinking and think, right, let's take a different tack, or actually we were going to do this. And because everybody wants to expand, if they're a British company, starting out, they're like, well, we're going to do Britain first, then we're going to expand to the US. But actually their market might not be in the US. It might be Middle East, or it might be Asia, because that's where a lot of the growth is, or it might be South America, because again, that's where a lot of the growth is. So it's just really, the whole process is being open-minded. And you might find at the end you have actually got a better business than you thought you had when you started the business planning process. So you've got more opportunity than you thought you had. I'm working with a health tech company at the moment, and they were very much, well, we're going to do this in the UK, and then we're going to do this in the US. And when I did the market research, I was like, guys, your market is Asia. And they were like, wow, who even knew?
Yeah, I was at the British Library a few weeks ago, and they were talking about exporting, and there's a few companies there. One of them was Rob Lowe, the guy behind Trunky, and a few others. And they were talking about how exporting to America is very convoluted, a lot of restrictions and hoops and stuff like that to jump over and all the rest.
Very painful.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you said that sometimes after you do some market research, you might realise that the market is somewhere else. How do you go about doing market research?
Well, I just concentrate on desk research really, and look at the marketing reports that are out there for the industry and try and identify the trends. As you say, importing to the US is difficult. And each industry has its own difficulties. Obviously, pharmaceuticals, you're going to immediately run into the FDA. Food and drinks, same. You can run into all kinds of regulatory difficulties. Anything to do with agriculture, similar. I worked with a beverage company in the UK who, again, they saw their market as the US, but it turned out not to be. It turned out to be kind of Singapore and places like that. So where it was much easier to export, and where they had a very British branding story, and where the consumer was far more receptive to a kind of luxury British brand. I think the US, North America, is a little bit jaded on that front. So again, through just talking to people and talking to distributors, new potential distributors and stuff, they were like, no, you need to think going east, not west all the time. And I think the UK has a kind of Western bias, which is understandable because of language and other factors. But it's kind of being more open-minded and realizing there's a whole world out there. And that'll be more and more important, obviously, to British entrepreneurs with Brexit.
Oh, yeah. What with regards to Brexit, how do you think that's going to affect businesses in the UK? What's your thoughts and feelings about the whole situation?
Well, my personal thoughts are, I think it's great because it kind of opens the mind to there's a whole big wide world out there. It's not all about Europe, although being within Europe kind of smooth things if you're exporting to Europe. But there's a lot of growth outside of Europe. There's a lot of economic growth. I mean, even countries that you might not be expecting to be growing. I mean, Mexico is growing. So some of the South American countries, which we see in the mainstream media as having all these problems, but a lot of them also have a lot of growth, which isn't being reported. So, I mean, it's really looking at your product and at specific markets and saying, right, where is this likely to work? Where is there an appetite for what my product or my service? And not being afraid of kind of language. And there's lots of people out there who can help with translation and all those things. So I think it's just thinking of ourselves as part of a global or worldwide community as opposed to just part of a European community.
Yeah, when it comes to fear, ain't got enough time for that. Just what we're doing, plan it out. All right, there's the route to market, there's data, so on and so forth. Right, let's go. Not messing around. All right, so with regards to a business plan, what kind of things do you look for? What kind of things meet your standard and requirements? In a good solid business plan.
Good solid business plan. Number one, not too long. You don't want to bore people. Potential investors and loan managers and banks, they have a lot of business plans to read. So, be succinct, get to the point. That's absolutely number one, I think. Number two is tell them who you are, because people, especially investors, they're really investing in you rather than your business, if you see what I mean. they'll look at the business and they'll be kind of like, yeah, okay, this might make money, but who is this person? Are they likely to kind of like, are they lazy? Are they gonna are they gonna just try and milk the company and close it down and leave me with nothing? So that's where their suspicion lies in the people, the founders. So you wanna show them that, you're honest, you're passionate, you want to make this work, and that everyone's going to benefit. You're going to, the entrepreneur's going to benefit, the investor's going to benefit. It's a win-win. So those are the top two things. Not too long. Should show them who you are. Show them the story behind the company. And those are the main things, really. I mean, a lot of people focus heavily on the numbers. Yeah, the numbers need to show that it's a profitable business. But really, it's the passion. You really need to show the passion for the business that the founders have.
Yeah, passion. Yeah, definitely, because I find that without the passion, that's your drive, that's your motivation. The way I see it is that in life or in business, in life in general, there are two real requirements. Be happy with what you're doing, and be competent. Your happiness is an emotional requirement. If you're not happy, you feel stressed, you feel annoyed, you're tired. If you're not competent, you won't see the results. You won't see the fruits of your labour. You'll get frustrated. You do all this energy, but all this input, but no output. I suspect that no matter what kind of Brexit, hard, soft, or half-baked or whatever, I think that the powers of the free market, businesses acting in their best interest, consumers acting in their best interest as well, I think in the long term it'll be much better off. I can't help but think 40 years from now, the question of Brexit won't be so much of a question or a dilemma. Won't be there in the conscious mind so much, because it'll be so well established and so far gone. It's like you remember that Brexit 2017-16 thing? Oh yeah, when was that? When was the vote and all the rest of that kind of stuff? I think there's a lot of potential to it, especially with regards to leaving EU and there's less regulations.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, and I agree with you. I actually studied economics, as that was my degree in university, and I do agree with you. I think the less interference really in the market, the better for everybody, the better for positive outcomes for everybody. And in that sense, the market should self-regulate, as you say, if everybody's acting in their own best interests. I think overregulation just drags everybody down and imposes costs that you don't need. I mean, I'm not saying to be dangerous in terms of health and safety. Obviously, nobody wants that. But in a sense, the market regulates that anyways, because when things go wrong, people will run away from a brand like a stampede. So the market kind of takes care of that anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, people act in their best interest. People, when they do that, they find the most efficient way. This is the way you see, like on grass verges, people always walk around the corner because it's slightly quicker, slightly easier. It's in the human mentality. It's in the human mentality to find and create things that benefit you the most, because, well, that's instinctively what you want, instinctively what you desire. Yeah, all right. So I'm also just curious, because you mentioned that you're doing some mentoring as well. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, I'm not actually mentoring at the moment. I've done some mentoring. Again, that was through Business Wales. They had a one-to-one mentoring program. So I was mentoring new entrepreneurs. And basically it was just to get them over little hurdles, which seem like hurdles if you kind of don't know the systems, like taking on your first employee and registering as an employer with HMRC and all that kind of stuff that you have to do. To expand your business or to take your business to that next level. So it was actually a really good program, because my mentoree could just give me a call and say, oh, Val, I'm thinking of taking on my first employee. What do I need to do? How do I register? How do I run a payroll? What are my responsibilities? And I could just give them, quick advice and guidance, because it can be scary when you've never done it before. And actually it's very simple, but it's only simple if you know what you need to do, isn't it? So also sometimes they'd be like, oh, I'm a bit scared to take on an employee because I don't want to commit to the payment of 30 hours a week. And it was just talking through, giving an employee fixed hours in an employment contract or putting them on 0 hours. And what were the options? Maybe it was taking on an apprentice, because at different times, the English government or the Welsh government will have different apprenticeships programs where you can get, wages could be subsidized and that sort of thing. So just guiding them really through all of that administrative stuff. So in that sense, it was really helpful. Also, maybe with marketing, people have a kind of a mindset, I need to advertise in a traditional way, and actually, probably your Facebook page is your best, depending on the business, but your Facebook page is a really important way of marketing nowadays. And we used to have a family business. We were in a hot tub business, and actually our best investment in marketing was our vans that were on the road by far. So although we wasted money on all kinds of radio and newspaper advertising, and when we analyzed it, our vans were our number one, payback on marketing spend and stuff. So just helping people to look at their business and what works for them, and talking through issues like, expanding the business, taking on the first employee, how to go about marketing, and so forth.
Yeah, I know some people that have gone for some apprenticeships, apprentices, an apprentice, and they've had generally bad experiences with them. They didn't quite particularly like the person they got, and they were in an office block, and the neighbouring other businesses like around the corridor didn't particularly like them either. There was a bit of clash in behaviour or culture or stuff like that. Is that a common thing you see with apprenticeships?
I think you have to be, you have to remember that although maybe the government is subsidizing it, that you're still in control of who you take on, who's in your business and who's representing you. So I've had apprentices working for me in my own little boutique business planning and accounting firm, who turned out fantastic and actually got pinched away from me by my ex-husband. After a couple of years. So that worked really well. And it was done through the local FE college. So they were attending FE on day release once a week. So they were building their skills and they were getting experience, hands-on experience with me, and that worked really well. And then we've had them in a hot tub business, we had apprentices, and they tended to work well, but I think it's because you have to remember that you're still in charge of who you hire. The careers company or whoever is arranging the apprenticeship scheme or whoever is administering it will send you people they want to get off their books. And you have to, be very, very sure, as any employee, that you're taking on the right person and not allow yourself to be used as a kind of dumping ground, if you like, for problem cases, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. So, arguably just due diligence, then?
Yeah, basically. I mean, we set up interviews the same way as we'd set up interviews for any other candidate, for any other job. We went through CVs, we went through references, we talked to people, and you get a feeling when you're interviewing about how somebody's going to work out. I remember once when I first started doing interviews, when I was working in the university I used to work at, one of the HR guys said to me, you can fix any training need, but you can't fix an attitude problem. So if you spot an attitude problem, that's just the biggest red flag. If there's a bad attitude, that's maybe a problem for the psychologist, but not for you as an employer to deal with. So if people don't have the experience or they don't have the technical knowledge or the technical skills that you need, that's okay. They're an apprentice. That's what they're there to learn. But if they have a bad attitude, I would say run 100 miles, because you can't really fix that. That's something that's been developed over many years of childhood and teenage years and stuff, and it's not really fixable, and it's not really for you to fix. So,
a good point, good rule of thumb. You also mentioned 0-hour contracts. Now, here in the UK, they're quite a I forgot what the word is now. They're quite a controversial employment strategy. Yeah, people want to ban them. I know people that love the concept. Essentially, you can hire someone without the promise of any hours. So you have is it a day notice or a few hours notice before you come into the office and you work. I need you to be here for 6 hours today. Then tomorrow it could be 4 hours. The day after that it could be 12 hours. Now I really like that. That's essentially a free market's approach to tackling minimum wage laws, because there's some times where it's like I could do with a person just 1 or 2 hours a day. I don't know, I'll pay them whatever they're worth and what the value they bring to the company and to the customer, just to do some miscellaneous stuff.
Yeah.
And I've known other people would have the same opinion. And it's like, well, firstly, I'm so glad we have them, just in general, and I'm so glad that they're not outlawed in the UK, because they're very useful. You just need to hire someone for not even part-time, like part-time. It's amazing. What kind of response do you get? What's your thoughts on zero-hour contracts?
I probably would have been against them until I tried them. So the only employee I've ever had on 0-hour contract was my daughter when she was a student. But she's also an amazing researcher. And when I have like an overwhelm, when she was a student, I used to say, "Can you do some research for me?" Because she was really good at it, like really focused. And she would, I would give her like, "Can you do me 10 hours this week research on this industry?" And that was fantastic because being a student, she needed the extra money. I needed the extra help. And it works out, as you say, it's like a free market solution. It's fantastic. And then if sometimes like August is always quite quiet because so many people are on holiday, I know I won't need her. I don't have to pay her. I don't have to worry about it. She's still on my books. And she knows she could be called on, when there's work there. And I think it's fine. I think as long as, the thing is, if somebody's on a 0 hours contract and they don't want to be, they can work their way off it by finding other work, can't they? No one's on it and is forced to stay on a 0 hours contract, but it can be useful for somebody who's got no money. It's better than nothing, isn't it? It can be a step, and it can be building their CV, and it can be building their skills. So from the employee's point of view, if they have a positive attitude to it, it can be enhancing the CV. It can be an extra reference for the next step, which might be a full-time fixed hours post.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and speaking of which, minimum wage, what's your thought on that? As an employer and as in the UK?
Yeah, I don't really have a strong feeling about it. To be honest with you, I'm just so used to it now. I think we all are, that we don't kind of question it. I think it's okay, but I don't think I'd be heartbroken if it disappeared, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
I think if there was no minimum wage or drastically reduced, then the 0 hour contracts wouldn't exist at that point, because then you could just hire someone for £1, £2, £3 an hour to do very, very basic menial work, because it's just not worth your time doing it. And it's not worth the $7.25 odd, 4 odd for apprenticeships to do it on your behalf. Yeah,
it does become a kind of equation that you're like, I need this small amount of work done, or this not very technically skilled work done, so that you can be off doing your whatever you do best. And I think this is why the kind of international freelancing thing has taken off, because you can get someone in a different economy with no minimum wage to do a lot of admin stuff, if it can be done virtually. So there's lots of virtual assistants and stuff available online, for like £2 and £3 an hour. And a lot of them are very good, and a lot have high level skills, because in their economy, they don't need to earn more than £2 or £3 an hour. In fact, earning £2 or £3 an hour in their economy is fantastic. So that's always an option as well.
Yeah, the gig economy is really on the rise. Yeah, it has a lot of potential and a lot of future there. Just outsourcing, just simple tasks, on demand. Yeah, data entry, stuff like that. It's amazing what you can do. Just on the whim.
Yeah, and you can get a lot of really good quality work done at an affordable price, if it can be done, virtually. If you've got a house that needs painting, it's not such an option, is it?
No,
but
not at all. Not at all. But as we begin to wrap this up, though, what is it you're working on next? What is it you're doing now?
Now I'm working with a health technology company at the moment, which is really cool and kind of not new to me, but there's some cutting edge technology. That's the one great thing about working on loads of different business plans, is that it kind of keeps you very up to date with what's happening. So that's cool. And we're just looking at where their expansion market is going to be globally. So what part of the world they need to look at to move into next. So that's nice. That's good. Nice work. Nice people. And I'm working on another proximity marketing company. Are you aware of proximity marketing? Okay. So it's kind of taking the online consumer experience in store, so that when you walk into the store, you may get a push-to app with a special offer. So if I'll give you an example of, say, you're shopping for, I don't know, a jacket, and on a retail store apps, then when you walk into the store, if the app is activated, it will push through maybe an offer on the jacket, 10% off, that you've already been looking at. Maybe it will guide you to the jacket department. If it's a big store and you can't kind of find your way around, it'll make you aware of loyalty scheme that may be running, or introductory schemes that may be running. Take our card today and get 20% off and 25% off jackets. So it can be tailored to the consumer in store as well as online. So that's interesting technology. So proximity marketing is kind of a next step marketing tool.
Yeah, I've heard about something similar to that done in India, where I think it was India or the States. I'm really not too sure, but there was a a shopping centre, and these people had a certain app that was assigned to a certain store, and as soon as they entered, they had 1 minute to get to that store, and the quicker they got there, that minute was going, 100 seconds even, counting down, 99, 98, so on and so forth, and the faster they got to the shop, the greater the discount. So if they got if they got there in 30 seconds, they would have a 70% discount. Got there in 50 seconds, 50% discount. They got there in 10 seconds, 90% discount. So there was a massive prerogative for them as soon as they entered the store, or even the shopping complex, to go to this one specific shop as soon as possible, because there'd be a massive discount in it for them.
Wow.
I can't remember what it was called, but it was actually in a book that I read. Where is it now? I must get that book to you. Just it was in a book about, I think it was Clickology, I believe it was that, and how to take the online experience. Not the subtitle, but the context of it was how to take the online experience offline. And back in August 2014, I was in Calais, and in the supermarkets there, they have these little LED screens where the prices can be dynamically changed. Over time, and I think they're introducing that into the UK, or there was some qualms about it. But I think if you combine that with another principle that was inside this book, where if you see, a lot of people do what's called window shopping. So they'll go into, say, Waterstones or Barnes & Noble, look at a certain book, check out the reviews on Amazon, and buy it on Amazon. And I believe that if the store had LED screen showing the dynamic price based on, I don't know, supply or something like that, and or like a call to action, like a QR code, for example, that goes to their app or their website, especially if that store's got good connection, then the people, that customer then could check out the book or read the book physically in their hand and then buy it 10, 20, 30%, whatever cheaper, and it will be delivered to their home from the Waterstones like warehouse or directory or something like that. So the shop acts as both a storefront as well as like a display front.
Oh yeah, cool idea.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So
very interesting stuff.
That's what I think about now whenever I go into places like Waterstones. I feel, of course, that they've got their own challenges and logistics to consider before they do something like this. This is what they're missing out on, just sales. Just they're expensive, yeah, sure, good margins for them, but at the same time, it's like I can get this cheaper online, especially now that I've seen it. So now it's like the desire is to buy it, but then there's no desire for Waterstones to, as a competitor, to say, hey, we'll do it right here, right now, 30% off. That way you're not messing around with Amazon or the rest. Just tell us, say the word, done, online.
Yeah, cool idea. But yeah, that is exactly the kind of thing that proximity marketing does for the consumer. So it extends, if you like, the online experience into the store. So I think what happens is people do a lot of online research before they go shopping. But then when they get to the store, it can all kind of dissipate, if you know what I mean. You can just get confused by the layout, especially everyone's had the IKEA experience where you go into IKEA and it's like you're in a different world after a while. After a while, you've lost your sense of where you are in the world. There's no windows, you got no external reference points. And everything kind of gets like, why did I come here? What's happening? So the massive stores, especially proximity marketing, helps like remind you what you wanted and directs you to it and keeps you kind of focused.
Yeah, we do a lot of research now. I believe that is called the 0 moment of truth.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right. Yeah.
And IKEA, well, as a side note, I've not been to an IKEA in years. But that's all right. So, as we wrap this up, Melanie, what is the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. Well, I have a website called letsgrowcrazy.com. So letsgrowcrazy.com. And that's the easiest way to find me.
That's all right. I'll include that link. I will include that link in the description below. How cool is that?
Very cool. Thank you.
But, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you haven't already, click on the subscribe button below and press the bell notification that's right next to it. And if you listen to this on Steemit, then give it an upvote and don't forget to follow me as well. There are plenty more content and plenty more videos to come. How cool is that?